Executive Director of Leonardo's Children's Museum, here for our monthly update. And joining me in the studio today is my good friend and board member, Susan Bowers. Welcome.
Thank you, Julie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And of course, Susan, I think everybody in Enid knows by now that you're not just a board member at Leonardo's. You have been co-chairing this $6 million capital campaign. And I think you have an announcement to make.
We are there. We got the $6 million.
Yay.
So, which is really exciting because the Maybe Foundation was going to give us our last $500,000, and they are outside of Enid. So this is very exciting to receive money outside of Enid.
Well, it is very exciting, and I know it was a lot of hard work. You weren't chair of the campaign back in 2011 when we kicked this off, but really just about 4 years, maybe 4.5 if you count the planning for it. But that's impressive to raise $6 million in 4.5 years. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'd like to also thank my co-chair and my committee and all the board members that helped us get to our goal.
There really have been a lot of people that helped along the way. Why don't you pick one that you want to talk about what they did that was, motivating to you?
Well, one of my favorite stories is I went to OSU for Women Day one day, and I was feeling a little guilty because I felt like I needed to be back in Enid fundraising. And Marlee Matlin was the speaker. And her whole speech was about, deaf people can do anything anyone else can. And at the end, she opened it up to questions. And so you could write a question on a piece of paper. And of course, I thought, I'm not going to miss this opportunity.
Of course not.
And we had one donation for a special exhibit, and I was $25,000 short. So, of course, a lady came up to me in the audience, and I said I was $25,000 short during the break, and she came up and she said, "Oh, Susan, I've never been to Enid, I've never been to Leonardo's, but I have taught deaf and blind children, and I would like to give you that $25,000. So I was so excited. Here was someone that hadn't even been to Leonardo's that was giving us $25,000.
And that kind of thing, it just really is motivating. And I still get goosebumps when you tell that. But there's another story that I wanted you to share with a lady that came to Leonardo's and had never been there.
Oh, okay. She came one day, and we took a tour through Leonardo's, and she has only one child that doesn't even live in Enid. But we went upstairs, and I was showing her the drawings and the concepts of what we wanted. And when we got to the page in the military section, she said, "Oh my gosh, I'd like to honor my son-in-law. He was at Vance Air Force Base. He didn't meet my daughter when he was here, but he was at Vance Air Force Base. And I would like to honor him and do a $50,000 naming opportunity."
And what's so incredible about that is normally when somebody hasn't been there, they're usually not a good person to ask, but because she was a friend of yours, you did. But that's not the end of the story, is it? As exciting as that is, that wasn't the end of the story.
No. She ended up, she said, "I have a friend that I'd like to introduce you to that might help you with your capital campaign." And she had a book, which I read on fundraising, and it was a wonderful book. Mm-hmm. Then at Christmas, at a party, she said, "Well, now are you thinking about endowment?" And I said, "Yes, I'm thinking about endowment." And she said, "I want to contribute the same amount to endowment when it comes time," because she said, "I want to put it in my will, and when I die," she said, "I want, this to carry on throughout my life, my giving to Leonardo's."
That is so phenomenal. And, you know, it just reminds me, which in almost 11 years at Leonardo's, I've learned how generous the people of Enid are. And I shouldn't be surprised, but, you know, this capital campaign, I think I shared with you on the way over here that right now, so far, we've had 472 individual donors to this. And some of them gave great amounts, pace setter level, 100,000 or more, and some, you know, my lowest one was $2. My part-time gardener brought me 8 quarters one day because she wanted us to have 100% staff participation. So it's just been an inspiring story. I know you've worked really, really hard, and I thank you for that, but it's also been uplifting to be a part of something like this.
It has been. Um, One of my other favorites was the change campaign that we did with the children.
Yes. And that just happened in November.
In November.
So kind of tell us how that came about.
And the children helped us change Leonardo's. And they brought back a Ziploc baggie.
And thank you to Jumbo's.
And thanks,
Jumbo
from
Foods
Jumbo
for donating those
our
baggies.
baggies. And we went to all the area schools. I talked to the superintendents and got permission, and then we went to the grade schools. And they had 2 weeks to save their money and return their baggies. Although we picked up baggies for about a month in some of the schools, which was great. And, you know, some of the children, it took them a little longer to save their money. But as we were counting the money, there was a $2 bill in one of the sacks. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, oh, this $2 bill. I know a grandma that puts $2 bills in cards, and she gives them for presents. And she probably, this little 4-year-old child, I'm guessing this is where it came from, had saved his birthday money, and he had put it in the baggie for Leonardo's.
That just is so touching, and I just love the hearts of children, and I love that parents are teaching their children to give to something that makes a difference in their community. So I stopped counting after 2,000 children. There were all the Enid schools participated, some of the area schools. I know Chisholm Elementary was 100%. Every child in every class at Chisholm Elementary participated, whether it was just a few pennies or whatever. So that's impressive. And did they get something for that?
Each child got a pass for
Well, they will get a
themselves.
pass.
They will get a pass.
We haven't given it to them yet because we don't want them to lose it before the
between
museum
now and
reopens.
when it reopens, they will have a pass for one adult and one child.
Yes.
And they will get to go. And then the teachers, if 85% of their class came back with even a penny in the baggie, then they received a free classroom from Leonardo's educator.
Yes, and so they got to choose between art or animals, and it was just up to the school if they had already had a lot of art classes, or especially the very young students, they might choose one of our animals classes. And so my educators have been out ever since mid-November getting those free classes out for people. And I just think it was a really neat thing. Did you tell us the amount they raised?
They raised $9,263, something like that.
So I think that's exciting. So when I say 472 donors, that doesn't count all the children
Right,
that
the children
donated too. So,
that was one donor, all the children.
so Susan, what if, you know, we're saying that we've pretty much reached our goal. What if somebody still wants to give? Is it too late?
No, it's not too late. We still have naming opportunities available. And, you know, we have a 100-year-old building. And our $6 million campaign, we have come into some snags, a few snags, and it's going to cost us about $6.15. And so we're getting close to 6.1, but there are still opportunities available to donate.
And there were some major contributors right at the end that helped you get to that $6 million. Do you want to share anything about them?
Yes, the H.H. Champlin Foundation, the family, they ended up, I can tell you the amount because it was in the newspaper.
Yes, they gave us permission.
They gave us permission. They gave us $200,000 in November,
so nice.
which was just absolutely awesome. And then also Merle and Gail Mortensen with their business.
Robert's Ranch.
Robert's Ranch.
Yes.
I was struggling for it. Robert's Ranch. I was having a senior moment. I am the oldest person on the board.
That's okay. You're the most active too.
And so they gave us a donation also that was in the paper of $200,000, and so theirs was for the ag area, and the Champlin family was for our energy area, and so. It's really exciting when I encourage people to drive by Leonardo's because the outside is even changing.
That's right. I like to drive by every week and just see what's happening now. And we don't really have time today to get into all the new exhibits, and probably as we get closer to our reopening in April, we'll be able to do that maybe at our March community talk update. But it's an exciting time for Leonardo's. You know, and I know we kind of had to go fast here, but there are so many people to thank, all of our board members. One that jumps out to me, Eve Schweitzer, is such a hardworking local pediatrician, but she took on the medical division, and that was huge when you think of all doctors and dentists and
nursing homes and anything.
Everything. And she took that on and did her usual great job of everything. Another board member, Kyle Teft, he's an Edward Jones financial advisor, and he went together with, went and talked to all of the other local Edward Jones financial planners and got them to go together on an exhibit. And there'll be some more about that in the paper in a few days. So anyway, we just want to thank you, and we want to thank the entire Enid community who has been so supportive of Leonardo's, just like they were 20 years ago when the museum opened and then when we built Adventure Quest. So your legacy will continue at Leonardo's for the next 20 years. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And we will look forward to seeing you next time on Community Talk.
Welcome back to Community Talk. My name is Demetrius Office, and I'm thrilled to be here. I have a wonderful, wonderful guest who is Robin McKenzie, and we're here to really promote an event called Break the Change that's coming up next month. And we just want to dive into a little bit of what Break the Change means and how it came to be, starting with really the source of the matter, and that is Bo McKenzie. We have here Bo McKenzie's mother. We had on the last Community Talk his brother Shane McKenzie, and I just wanted to give you guys a perspective from a motherly standpoint out there about why Bo is who he is and why he do what he do. So, Robert, thank you for joining the show with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Bo. How was Bo growing up?
Sure. Bo was a sweet, tender-hearted little boy. He really was. He was a pleasure to be around. He was so likable. He was just loved people, always did. And in fact, the pastor at our church at that time called him a frequent flyer because he went forward so often asking for prayers for friends, family, teachers, anybody that had a need or a hurt. He was down front asking for prayers.
Wow.
Yeah, big
That's
heart.
awesome. That's awesome. I think we were saying on the last community talk that, you know, doing FaceTime with Bo and just looking at his heart for, you know, for why we're here is absolutely incredible. And that kind of feeds into, you know, what we're here for today too. So now I know we talked about it a little bit, and Bo had said to me that he wanted to join the military. You know, from a motherly standpoint, can you expound on like what your feelings was when he said that he wanted to join the military?
Sure. You know, Bo was not I talked about him having such a wonderful heart, but he wasn't a perfect kid. He went through quite a bit growing up. When he was in the 6th grade, I had a parent call me from school, and she said, I just need to tell you that Bo's been bullying my son. Well, I was mortified, you know, just felt awful. Bo was bullying this kid. And so I called Dennis and my husband, and we talked about what we were going to do. So that night we sat Bo down and we came up with a story, right? Mm-hmm. So we said, Bo, you know, there's this kid, and you know, he's hurt, he's sad. Some mean kid at school's picking on him, and he feels helpless. He goes home and he cries, and his mom and dad sits on the bed with him and they cry. And I'm watching Bo's face, and I could see his face start to drop.
Wow.
And he realizes, he interrupts us, and he says, I know what you're doing. He says, that's me. I'm that mean kid. And I said, yes, you are. And he said, I got to go say I'm sorry. I got to go apologize. And so we did. We took him over to the house, and he asked for forgiveness to the boy, and he asked for forgiveness to the parents. And it was a great learning experience. And I wish I could say things got better. But then the middle school years came and the high school years came, and he just went further and further into rebellion and just fought against everything he used to believe in, and just basically turned his back on God and on our beliefs, and became an angry kid, actually. Wow. You know, he did. And he would go out with friends, and we caught him drinking a couple times. And he would go out with girls, and every time he'd walk out the door, Demetrius, I would tell him, I'd say, Bo, that girl that you're going out with is somebody's daughter, is somebody's niece, is somebody's sister, and somebody's future wife. And treat her with respect. And so we made it through some of those years, and then he graduated. Thank God. We didn't know if he was going to make it, but he did. He graduated, and he said he was going to go to the military. Well, in our family, each member of our family has been to this Christian event, and we told him that he had to go to this event, right? And it is a Christian event. It's about a 5-day event where you get alone with God and intense study in God's Word. Well, he had no part of that. He was not going. Well, his daddy said he was going. I mean, Dennis was adamant, you are going. And he did go kicking and screaming on this bus, but he went. And we didn't know what was going to happen to Demetrius. We knew he was going to the military. We knew that was a path that we thought God had for him. And the 4th day of this event, he calls Dennis. And we thought, our hearts just sank when we saw on the phone that it was Bo. We thought, oh, what happened? Yeah. And he called, and he said, and Dennis answered the phone, and he says, Dad, he said, I got to tell you something. And Dennis was very apprehensive, and he said, what is it, Bo? What's going on? And he says, Dad, I got to tell you. He says, I now have 2 fathers. Wow. Yeah, he met Jesus. Wow. And his heart was back. That big, wonderful, God-given heart that cares for other people was back. Yeah. And you know, as a mother, knowing that he was going to the military, you pray that your child will go according to God's plan in that path. And I knew that it was, and I had to let him go. Yeah. And
Bo and I did a lot of FaceTime just recently, and we spent a good amount of time on FaceTime, and he was kind of sharing with me, like, what was that transition from the military to God calling him to Destiny Rescue. And we just kind of wanted to hash out a little, get a little better understanding of what Destiny Rescue meant for Bo. So Robin, like, what was the transition from military to Destiny Rescue for Bo?
Right. He, when he got out of the military, he was very restless. And Bo has a fierce loyalty. He has a tenacity about him that describe him in a way that I can only say he just has this incredible protective heart for people. He went to a Promise Keepers event with his dad and his other brothers. And there was an event there about human sex trafficking. And when he came home from that, he was ready to sell everything. Wow. He was ready to go right there and then, but it wasn't God's timing yet. So it's been almost 4 years, and God got him ready, molded his heart, you know, made him stronger spiritually, emotionally, and it was time for him to go to this.
Yes.
He was ready. This is something that set him on fire.
Yes, that's good. And folks out there, if you're channeling in and you're watching, Destiny Rescue is an organization that was put together overseas to bring underage girls out of human sex trafficking. And that is one of the biggest struggles that we have today as a community. We don't realize how much that is sitting right here in our backyard and in our front yard. And some of us usually tend to put it, turn a blind eye to it. But this event here is to really bring awareness to a lot of the things that are happening in our community and overseas. And Bo has dedicated his life for 2 years, not 1 year, but 2 years to this organization. It's called Destiny Rescue. And that's the reason why we're here today is to lock arms with the community of Enid and provide support for his decisions. So, really quick, Robin, as a mother, you can imagine having your own kids in human sex trafficking. What does human sex trafficking mean for you?
You know, these little girls are made in God's image, and they're somebody's daughter, they're somebody's sister, they're somebody's hopefully future wife. And there's a song that means a lot to us. It's about a man who shakes his fist at God and says, God, how can you allow these atrocities? How can you do this? How can you get by? Why don't you do something? Yes. And God responds and he says, I did. I created you. He created us to do something about the evil in this world. And if that's Bo's calling, how can I not support him in that?
Oh, that's so powerful. Oh, man. Robin is here trying to make me tear up a little bit on studio. And that was so interesting. I got a phone call today. We went into Enid News and Eagle, and they featured an article about this open mic night event in the paper. I got a funny phone call, and they go, Bo? And they wanted to speak to Bo, and I had to explain to them that, no, Bo is not here. I'm the coordinator for this whole event. Bo is actually in the Philippines right now, and Bo actually left out October 5th to the Philippines. And what we don't realize is that Bo is about 14 hours ahead of us, and Bo is in the heart of it. He is in the bars and bringing those girls out of, human sex trafficking, giving them hope in their life. And I told Bo over FaceTime, I said, brother, if there's anything that I want you to focus on, it's just that, bringing those girls out of the bars, and doing what God has destined in your heart to do. I don't want you to have to focus on money and finances to pave your way for the next 2 years. Let me bear that burden. And so I've decided to stand in the gap for Bo financially and help him with this cause. And this is the reason why we're doing this event, Break the Chains. It's the open mic night event. It's the largest open mic night event that Enid has ever seen. And we have a lot of different talent, different performers that stepped up and heard the story and said, pick me. I want to be a part of this process. moving forward. I want to bring awareness to human sex trafficking. I want to be directly responsible for taking girls out of the bars and giving them hope in their life. And so this event is going to be an amazing event. We have Kyle Dillingham, who is going to be on a fiddle, and I'm so excited to see that guy perform. I've just been following him on YouTube and seeing different videos, and he and I are good friends now through this endeavor. He's heard about the cause and said, I'm all in to support this. We have about 20 different performers. We have a diverse group of individuals. What I love about it is Enid's finest, homegrown right here in Enid,
awesome.
that is sharing their gifts and talents for a good cause. And so what we need is sponsors to bring this thing to fruition. We need ticket sales. Go out there. You can purchase tickets on enideventcenter.com and purchase tickets for only $15. Use it as a date night. Get brownie points with your wives and spouses. Come out and have fun. It's going to be a night to remember, and it's all for Bo. It's all for Bo. All proceeds go towards that ministry moving forward. So we're going to write Bo a big check, and we're going to say, we love you, brother. Take care. We got your back for 2 years. And that's what we're here to do. So, Robin, you have any closing words that you want to send out to the audience?
Oh, I just thank you so much for having me on here. And you know, like you say, you get to FaceTime with Bo, and I'm just so thankful for that I get to see him face to face, you know, on FaceTiming. And it's kind of funny because when I talk with him, you know, he shares things. He's always very open about everything with me. And it's kind of funny how many mothers ask their sons, hey, have you been to the bar lately? And so it's I'm so thankful for what we have, and I'm so thankful for what you're doing, Demetrius, and just the attention. I know Bo is so humbled and awkward. He feels awkward about all of this attention, and it's just an amazing thing what Enid is doing for him. Thank you.
Yes, and you say thank you to me. Guys, if I can leave you with anything, it's people, purpose, and performance. If God called you to do something, then that's your destiny. And for Bo, it is his destiny to do this. And I couldn't be honored enough than to put something like this together to honor the McKenzie family and Bo and support Bo in this thing. We need more Bos in this world, and I'm just so humbled that Bo was called to do this, and we can put together a good team to put this show on. So Break the Chains, February 5th, Convention Hall Ballroom at 6:30. Doors open at 6:30. We're going to launch the show at 7 o'clock sharp. Be there or be square. We thank you for tuning in to another episode of Community Talk. Thank you, and we'll see you at the show.